Hello. Hi. Good morning. This is Varnish Vidit, a dermatologist and the writer of a famous book, Forget the Facelift. Doris Day says, your life is in your head. Yes, if you lose your head, you lose your life. If you want to save your life, you have to save your head. Here, saving head or losing head obviously means getting angry or controlling anger. Anger is a very acute problem of the society these days. There is a rise in the anger of the society to a destructive level. Rather, it has raised to the volcanic extent. We can daily confront this cases of road rage or fighting in the families, tussles, disputes, arguments, and an open display of anger in in street fights and killing, murdering, and harming the people physically and mentally. So people are, as such, losing their control on their own self. They're losing their heads. First of all, I would like to throw some light on what actually happens when we lose our control, our temper, and when we lose our mental control. Or we get angry, or we give an outlet to the ire and indignation, and we suffer at a later stage. So, whenever a person is angry, a hormone, a very pesky and irritating hormone is released, is called cortisol. So when cortisol is released, it flows almost in every part of the body. It flows through our blood, and every human body organ is taxed. Means there is a tension on almost every organ of the body, and it has side effects too. Secondly, when the cortisol is in the body, then what happens that there is a tension in the face muscles, and there is a problem with the blood vessels. They won't develop further, and then there is not any making of the making of the cell is also hampered, and ultimately it results into wrinkles. Means aging or skin aging becomes faster. So it's very important that we must not lose the anger unnecessarily. People should not be angry. Means the people who remain angry for the longer period of time, they look aged, their skin loosened, and their skin become saggy, and there, there's a need of the facelift in that case. So that is why Doris Day says that forget the facelift means forget your anger. Control your anger. There is no need of any Botox to look smarter and better. Means all your mood swings, they have a very adverse effect on your looks and your appearance and your body structure. Once a survey was conducted, a research was made on the people of two groups. In first group, there were participants. They have a short temper. They easily lost their temper. But in the other group, there were the people who followed Zen temperament. Means they had a complete control on their temperament. So these participants, they were given surgical cut on their arms, means they were wounded, there were injuries on their arms, and then they were kept under observation. And it was observed that the people who had a control on their temperament, or those who were following Zen temperament, they healed 4 times faster than those who had lost their temperament easily, or those who lost their control on their mental senses, means those who were angry by nature. So it is very clear that the healing is also obstructed if when you are losing your control on your mind, when you are becoming angry at any moment and occasionally. When any kind of healing is required, what actually happens? Collagen is produced. Collagen production takes place, and that collagen is responsible for the healing to make it faster. But when the cortisol flows in the body, this production of the collagen is stopped, and then, of course, the healing takes longer time, and person remains in pain for a longer period of time. So it's very important we must control our anger. We must have a control on our anger. I would try to share one small story in reference to this viewpoint. In this story, there was one child of teenage child, maybe of the age of 15 or 16. He was very short tempered. He had no control on his temper. So his father wanted to learn him, make him learn the lesson of controlling the temper. So he took him into the backyard of the house. In the backyard, there was a wooden fence. He gave him some nails and a hammer. And he advised him to hammer a nail whenever he would lose his temper. So he started. On the first day, there were all roughly 15 or 16 nails that he hammered into the fence. Days passed. So slowly he found that he realized that it was difficult to hammer the nail than to lose the temper. So he found it is easier to not to lose the temper. So he stopped losing temper, and the number of the nails in the fence also reduced. After a couple of weeks or couple of months, he came to his father and told that yesterday he had no nails in the fence. Now father advised him to remove one nail per day if he didn't lose his temper for the whole day. He started practicing the same, and after again a few months, he came to his father. He told that he took him to the backyard and he showed the fence. There were no nails in the fence. But father said, "Yes, I'm happy that there are no nails, but there are holes. Look at the holes. This fence would never remain same as it was when we began with the practice of hammering the nails." Same thing happens in the human life also. When we lose anger, we harm somebody, and that harm leaves a hole. So holes cannot be removed. Nails can be removed. So whenever out of your anger you harm somebody physically or mentally, like suppose you stab somebody with a knife and then you remove the knife and you say, "Sorry." You have removed the knife, but the injury you're given, it's a physical injury. Same is the case with the mental injury. Our anger leaves its imprints on the minds of the people who are affected, or rather their imprints are very strong on our own mind. You can remove the injuries, physical or mental or emotional, but you cannot remove their impression, their imprints. They will always stay there, either on your mind or one who bears the brunt of your anger. One more small story about the life of Lord Buddha. Once Lord Buddha was preaching a group of disciples, and it was an evening session of preaching, and a huge gathering of the disciples was there. At the back of the crowd of the disciples, there was somebody continuously shouting and abusing Lord Buddha. He might have been angry for certain viewpoint that he didn't agree with the Lord Buddha, and so he was spewing the anger onto Lord Buddha. Lord Buddha tried to quieten him, and he addressed that particular angry disciple and the other disciples, and he asked a question: if you want to give a gift to somebody and the receiver refuses to take the gift, who is the owner of the gift? The disciple, they thought for a while, and then they answered, "Of course, the giver." Lord Buddha said, "Yes, this is a fact. When you want to give something to somebody and the person who is in front of you refuses to take it, you have to remain with it. You are the owner of that thing." So here, in case of anger also, the giver is angry. But if the receiver is not receiving it, will not be affected, then the real effect would remain with the giver. So more harm is always to the one who is angry, not to the one who is on the receiving end. So how to manage this? What should be the mechanisms to control the anger? So there is also a spiritual philosophy. There are three things. First is acceptance. Second is responsibility. First of all, I would like to talk about acceptance. It all depends whether we accept it or not. Suppose somebody is very angry and somebody is showing anger towards us, and if we accept it, it's up to us whether we want to accept it or not. If we are not ready to accept it, we refuse to accept it, of course there will be no harm, and after some time the person who is angry would also recede his anger, and he himself or herself would suffer. Second is responsibility, and then there is third thing is defenselessness. We must understand our responsibility towards the society, that we have not to harm anybody, and our anger is creating a great harm to ourselves and also to the surrounding we are surrounded by. And the third thing is defenselessness, means when we become defensive, we become resistant. When we defend something, we actually resist to accept something. We are not having an acceptance, and we are going away from our responsibility. So stop becoming defensive. Stop defending your viewpoint. When you carry a viewpoint and you want that everybody should accept your viewpoint, and your viewpoint should be accepted, and you're very unaccepted to the other's viewpoint, of course there is a clash. When there is a clash, there is an anger. When there is an anger, there is a harm. Do not defend your viewpoint. Let people become agreed to accept your viewpoint at a later stage. If you really love people, if you're showing your anger to your loved one and you want to impose your viewpoints upon them, you are not ready to accept what they want, or you're not taking your responsibility into account, and you are over defending with your viewpoint, of course there is a situation of clash. There is a cataclysm of a tiff or a dispute or a bickering, and a situation of anger is there. Like what happens in case of a road rage. You're object oriented, you're object referral, you're very much worried about your car you're driving or your vehicle you're driving, and there is a scratch on it and you're worrying about it, and you give a scratch to the man and you fight with the person, and that is the situation of road rage. So overcome your frustration, stop frustrating, and try not to become a gift giver where there is no receiver. I hope you will understand what kind of harms anger can cause and how we can control it. It's very important. We need to remain composed and quiet and tranquil. A mental serenity is a blessing. It's a boon, and we must have it in our life to lead life happily and make a very beautiful anger-free and a tension-free and a stress-free environment in our family, in our society, in our country, and in the whole universe. Thank you. I hope you understood the viewpoint and the concept. It's up to you. You accept it or reject it. But ultimately, you need to be happy and cheerful and anger-free. Thank you. If you like the video, you must press the button of like, and if you are not yet subscribed it, do subscribe it and recommend to the other people. Thank you very much. I'll be back with a new idea in the next video. Till then, goodbye.